What's up, YouTube? First name JC on, last name Ditto. JC on Ditto. Back at it again with another video. I think that kind of rhymed, but I don't know. But now, what's up, you guys? So today, we basically, this topic is really like serious to me. Always wanted to talk about, always wanted to touch upon that I never really got to talk about. So like I keep, going back and forth with myself and in my thoughts about how I should start this video. So boom. Basically, a lot of people have been coming to me like, yo, JC, I feel like Africans and African Americans do not get along with each other. I feel like African Americans and born Africans don't get along. And I feel like Africans hate Black African Americans. Is it true? Is it not true? Is it a lie? Is it a misconception? Is it a misunderstanding? Is it a disconnect? Is it a lack of education? What exactly is the problem? This topic, I'm not an activist. I'm not, a person that's like, oh, I'm pro this is, no. Whatever I'm about to talk about, I'm speaking off of experience. I'm speaking off of what I know, what I've been through, what I've encountered. Me coming from West Africa, Ivory Coast, and moving to the United States at about the age of, funny thing is, I came at about the age of 9. Went to France when I was about like 12 or 11, and then went back to my country and then came back when I was 14. Now the thing is, I came around 9/11, right? So 9/11 was, I think, in 2001. So I came at a time where a lot of things that are okay now or that everybody wants to do or be weren't cool back then. And before I came here, I had a knowledge, and I put knowledge in quotes because I had an idea of what America was supposed to be like and what African Americans, and to me, I didn't really consider the people, the blacks in America, to be African American. We would think of them as being African. So we didn't, put Black African Americans in a box and be like, oh, they're labeled Black African Americans. We looked at it like these are going to be my own. Like, I'm excited. I'm going to go out there, see some white folks that I see in my country, and then meet my brothers and sisters, basically, like, my bros. And we're going to bond, and we're going to have, I'm going to be Gucci. When I first got here, I didn't speak English, so therefore, I didn't know the language. So when I got to America, I was probably at about, an age where you know who you could be, but you don't know who you are for sure. When you're like 9, 10 years old, you're not very knowledgeable of nothing really. You speak, you talk or whatever the case may be. You're old enough to have common sense of certain things or acknowledge what, certain things are. So when I came here, I was ecstatic. Like, I was so excited to come to America. Like, I don't think I've ever been happy or, hyped to be in a place. Like, I was so happy. I get to meet my pops. I get to, shoot, who wasn't talking about coming to America? Like, I was dumb happy. So when I got here, long story short, I don't speak English. So when I started school, I started getting a lot of the, name calling, like I went probably about a couple of months without going to school because we were trying to figure out how we were going to go about it and things of that nature. So my pops was trying to see where he would put us in school and stuff like that. And we went straight to middle school, I believe. I think it's junior high. See, I don't know the grades too well. I just know them by age. Whatever age you will go if you're 9 or 10 years old. So I think it's junior high school. This is before high school. You guys fit me in there. I think it's somewhere around junior high or something like that. So when I got here, I would go to school and people, at first it was just like, now looking back, I didn't get it. I didn't get what it was. I didn't get that was bullying, that was name calling. Like I didn't get that. I just was like, oh, they don't, vibe with me like that. But I got called African booty scratcher. I got called blackie. I got called brownie. I got called dirty. I got called all the names you can get called. But at the time, I didn't speak English. You understand what I'm saying? So imagine not speaking a language and people are talking about you and throwing slurs at you. You don't know what they're saying, but you whether you speak a language or not, you know that someone is calling you something and treating you a certain way off of the strength of how other people are looking at you and how people are laughing. So I'm getting this from my black brothers and sisters in school, young kids. This is not grown ass people. This is young kids. We're like 9, 10 years old, every single one of us. You know what I'm saying? And I think I had probably one black friend and one Spanish person that like kind of like put me in the, I was by myself a lot. I think that's another thing that put me in this space where I was very always to myself, because in middle school and junior high I was really I don't know, I think it's junior high, but I was really by myself when I started school all the time. And in my country I was always by myself or with family because I missed my father. And when I came here I was always by myself because I missed my mom. So it became a level of always being by me, just me, by my lonesome, you understand? So then I started learning. I started, being more, it's like, okay, why is this person treating me this way? Why is it that I can't connect with these people on a mental level? Like, what is it that I'm missing? Yeah, I got called so many names. And I used to go home and tell my pops, like, oh, they call me this, they call me that. I was like, oh, I was telling my dad, like, oh, these people don't like me in school. Like, they be coming at me, like, But I didn't know how to say it to him because I didn't know what they were saying to me. I didn't know at the time, When years go by and you start learning the language, then you be like, yo, they really used to call me this. Or when you start learning the language and then you see a new kid that you used to be and then they're calling you these names or calling that person these names and you're sitting there like, wait, is this what I was getting called? Is this how I was being treated? For what? I don't know. And that was my main thing. Like, why are you calling someone a certain thing? And that's when the switch came. That's when I'm like, okay, what is it? Because now, when I talk to people, unless a word comes out a certain way, people never assume that I'm African or think that I'm African. The first thing they'll think is that I'm whether Jamaican or that I'm Dominican. Crazy thing. I think it's because of my waves. When I go in the Dominican shop, because a lot of Dominicans are black. A lot. Dark skin, just like me. So when I go in a Dominican barber shop, because I live in the Bronx, they will automatically hit me with the Spanish. I don't get the automatic, oh, you're African. You understand? So it's a play on basically when a person that's, sees you and they try to give you this compliment on, oh, you're too pretty to be dark skinned, or you're pretty for a dark skinned girl. Right? It's equivalent to when you tell someone, oh, I'm African, and they be like, really, you're African? You don't look African. You don't talk African. What does African look like? What does African talk like? What does African smell like? And that used to really hit me, and it still does now. I think this is why I brought up this topic. It still hits me sometimes, like, what exactly is the category that African Americans put Africans in? And this is why I'm going to bring up this next part. When I came here on TV, I used to always tell my pops, like, oh, I want to watch African stuff, like I want to see, stuff on TV from our country, like, And he used to be like, oh, just watch National Geographic or whatever, like, because I guess he didn't really know the channels on where the certain things were. So I would watch National Geographics or like all these channels, and all I see is commercials about African kids with flies, dirt, playing in huts, building huts, and just nothing but negativity. Like, it was nothing but negativity. I have not, since I've been here, actually watched something on TV or in the public with a positive light on what Africa looks like. And Africa is a continent with 50 something countries. You understand? So you have the west, the east, the south, the middle, and then you have Madagascar somewhere in their lonesome over there. But it's a big continent with riches, with poverty, we have everything. You understand? So when I come to the Bronx, you feel me? My niece just came from Africa, and from my country, and she's here now. So when I'm like, oh, how different is here from there? She's like, it's the same. Probably, she's like, it's probably Times Square is a little different, but that's the level of how. I'm not saying I'm comparing America to my country or America to other countries in Africa, but we have almost the same lifestyle. We have the same buildings. We have the same. Now, if you go to the village, of course, it's a different story. People that live in a village versus people that live in the city. It's a different lifestyle. And I think the main issue comes from the lack of education that are given to African Americans about Africans, and it's not the African Americans' fault at all. Like, a black African American is taught slavery about it, in high school. So therefore, you don't even know your own history. So what exactly can you identify with? So if you have an African person that come from Africa, then that's all you have to compare them to, because you were never taught anything else about your ancestors and your history. So this is something that I had to learn. So now, to go back on why it's a miscommunication and a disconnect and a misunderstanding. Now you have an African man who lives in Africa who thinks that people in America or black African Americans are supposed to be getting all this knowledge and all this everything about their history. So when you come here, you automatically think they should have these values, they should be have this culture, they should have this that you have based there, which is not the case. So to my African brothers and sisters that are coming from Africa, do not come here with the idea of we're on the same level as them. They don't grow up eating how we eat. They don't grow up behaving how we do. So for an African man, to come in his home, his wife would have cooked for him, and the kids are waiting for him, and we all sit at the table, all 10 of us, at the same damn time. We all eat at the same damn time with our hands from the same damn plates, or sometimes from separate plates, but we all eat together. You understand? For an American person, it's a totally different story. You understand? Some people eat before their parents, mothers eat before them. You know what I'm saying? You cannot. That's where the disconnect comes from. We do not know about each other. We don't learn about each other. We don't get to, and that's where the ignorance comes from both parts. You have an ignorant person that's coming from West Africa or East Africa or wherever in Africa, and you're bringing your culture here to someone else's land. You know what I'm saying? And to them, they feel like, oh, you bringing your culture from there to here, but you're attacking me for what I have going on. Which I understand from the African American standpoint, but also it's like, hey man, you can learn where you actually come from and what your values and what your cultures and what your back. It's a cultural thing, and that disconnect has created a major issue because on TV you see this. You have an image of what an African person is supposed to look like. Therefore, when I come, automatically you labeled me. You're putting slurs on me, you're putting an image on me. Instead of saying, hey, this is someone that's coming from where my peoples used to come from. Let me sit down, chop it up with them, and find out more about my culture. Everything doesn't always have to be on the media. You don't always have to go to Google. You don't always have to run to Google. We see each other every day. It's a way of approaching your fellow brother or your fellow sister, like, yo sis, yo bro. The same way you could go to your brother and sister and ask them anything else, yo bro. In Africa. And crazy thing is, I always tell people, I'd rather you come up to me and be like, yo, in Africa, son. Like, boom, 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 boom. Even if your question might be ignorant, I still like the fact that you actually question and actually care to learn. Like, yo, bro, why do y'all eat with your hands? I'd rather that than, yo, it's nasty that y'all eat with your hands. Because how do you tell me that it's nasty for me to do something that I was raised up on? Same thing with an African feeling like, oh, it's disrespectful for an African American to do this and do that. Learn why is it that they act like that? Why is it that this is this way? So I'm gonna give y'all a background story on something that happened. If you ever followed me on our old page, don't mean to bring this up, but this is a good thing for me to do, especially with people had labeled me from that video. A lot of people had a lot of comments about me. I think this is when people started looking at me at a different light and not knowing who I am as a person. I'm very intelligent and I'm very, very like in tune with where I'm from and who I am as a person. And if you've ever watched the video and it's titled, it should still be up, it's titled African Food versus American Food. It was basically me in my past relationship, and the person I was dating. I had went out to eat at my local African spot. I went out to eat, and the person I was dating at the time has never actually seen me eat the food from my country. The person is American, born here, born and raised, and we tried to talk about the topics of where I'm from as a person, but we never could connect. It was always like, I don't really care for that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm the person to not push until I feel disrespected, you understand? So, like, I was out at a restaurant eating with my hands because that's what we do. I'm not going to switch up who I am and what I do and whatever because of where I'm at. No. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to learn when to adapt. Because if I go to a Japanese restaurant, I'm eating with my chopsticks. Chinese restaurant, I'm eating with my chopsticks. I like to honor whatever culture it is that I'm approaching. You know what I'm saying? If I can't eat with my chopsticks, then I can't. But that's what I'm going to do. So I was eating and the person just happened to come and meet me. And they were just looking at me with a confused face like, what are you doing? You understand? At first, I didn't mind it because it was like, okay, this is your first time actually seeing me eat this way. So I can understand where you're a little confused. So we made a video, which was American food versus African food. And I was eating a meal from my culture. And the person was eating, fried chicken and a beef patty or something like that. And a lot of the comments that were made during that video actually had to get cut short because I don't think I've ever been so angry. I got so angry that it showed on camera. I looked so mean because to me I felt attacked. I felt my culture being attacked. I felt like I went back to middle school where I was being called names. So for me to have been dating someone that looks at my culture, where I'm from, how I eat, how my food looks, as in such a disrespectful light, it really hurt me. Most people in the comments understood where I was coming from, but that goes with the perspective of what I was trying to say. Me being so defensive blocked my light to try to educate this person. But also the person I was trying to educate was not trying to learn anything of what I was trying to say. So now we're both clashing and we're both bumping heads because I want my culture to be understood and they could care less about what is going on with my culture. So now you have two people that should be, learning each other, but constantly breaking, and aren't able to bridge that gap. So now, what I'm basically trying to say is, you don't have to eat with your hands as an African American, but respect an African person doing it. Same thing with an African person. You don't have to respect that. An African American wants to rock his chains and do this and do that. Respect that this is what they grew up on. This is their culture. It's nothing wrong with wanting to learn about each other. The division is it comes from us not having knowledge. Like a lot of times, like nothing is being told about all the riches that you have in Africa. Nothing is being told about all the great things African Americans do here or have done here for this country or for other Africans. Like, neither one of us are being shined in any light. So why are we sitting here constantly putting each other down? This is the same thing with African Americans versus African Americans. Like, we have power to overcome a lot of things, and that's why I was so freaking happy when Black Panther came out and everybody got together. And I think a lot of people misunderstood. It wasn't even, I didn't even care about the movie being a superhero. It was just how much the black community came together like crazy. Like, and that right there is what I want to see in all of us every day. Like, I want to walk down the street and me and my brother bump and be like, yo, my bad, bro, my bad. Nah, yo, why you bump me for? Our place of anger is crazy. And like I said, like I brought up in the video, I was very angry. And I think that it's not an excuse, me feeling disrespected and feeling my culture disrespected was not an excuse for me to be as angry. But I understood the place I was coming from. I felt attacked. I felt disrespected. I felt judged. I was very hurt in that video. Because after I turned it off, that night did not go well at all. But I was like, no, I'm going to post it. Because I'm genuine. I'm very raw. Like, everything about me, and as you guys go along and learn, I'm very what I put out. There's nothing about me that changes from 10 years ago till now. It's nothing but growth, yes. But me as a person, nothing has changed. I'm able to admit when I'm wrong. I'm able to admit when I'm right. I stick to me and my values and what I believe in at all times. I will not switch up for anybody. I will not switch up for nothing. No matter the fame, the money, the whatever. I will always be raw. I will always speak my mind. I will always connect with you guys on a deeper level than just YouTube. Which is why I wanted to bring up this topic, because it's very like, every time I have somebody around me, no matter where they're from or who they are, I always try to be like, yo, boom, 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 let's do this. Let's move forward and do that. Like, as two groups of people that really literally can have the world in our hands, I feel like we should learn more about each other. We can educate ourselves. We don't always have to run to Google or Wikipedia or school. And the crazy thing is, when I was coming here, most people in my country were like, yeah, find yourself a whole lot of white friends. Like, it was just like, nobody was telling me nothing about black folks. Like, I wasn't learning nothing about black folks. You feel me? Why do I have to come to another country and only be told to have white friends? No offense to, the white folks out there, no offense, but why does that have to be like that? Because why? You guys automatically feel like all African Americans are going to be a bad influence. I'm going to get into, and this is a stigma that we've grown up with all times, that befriending a person who's Caucasian or a person who's not, quote unquote, going to get you in trouble is the way to go. Why can't I be a brother to my brother, learn about my brother, and grow with my brother? Why does it always have to be negative? If I'm not friends with this person here, I'm not. Let's stop the stigma of, if you're this, you're that, and let's move forward from that. And I feel like I really needed to have this conversation because we're both misunderstood from both ends, and it comes from a lack of education. It comes from a lack of being afraid to learn, being afraid to ask or to identify with someone who's not doing what you're used to doing. Because at the end of the day, whether you African or African American, you're still African, and therefore you identify with one another. As an African man, you're not better than an African American because you come straight from the motherland. No, you're not. And as an African American, just because your country has better resources, you're not better than the man that's coming from, no, we're the same, and we just need to learn each other and be a little bit more mindful of the things we say and how we regard each other and approach each other. Because to be honest, we're popping, like black is popping, and however way you want to put it, it's popping. So you guys we need to be proud versus saying I'm black and I'm proud, but as soon as a black man steps in my other vicinity, now we're in competition. Nah, it's my brother, you're my brother, we're all brothers and sisters, period. And that's how we should move forward in everything that we do. And I really hope that, I'm not saying I'm here to change the world, because I'm not, but I know that a lot of people watch and a lot of people pay attention, and hopefully you guys take this and really run with it and be like, you know what, you're right. Like, next time I see an African brother or African sister, I'm going to sit them down and be like, yo, what's up with this? Like, and I promise you they won't take it the wrong way. Like, what's this? What's that? And I like that a lot of times now, a lot of African Americans are starting to wear more of and I need my African brothers and sisters to really connect with the African Americans and what's going on too in their minds, and like, we can help each other, we can grow. Feel me? But this topic, I really needed to bring it out to you guys. I hope you guys liked the video. Hope you guys watch it. First name JC, last name Ditto. JC, Ditto. You guys already know. I'm out of here.